Sometime in the not-too-distant future, the date July 4th of May become obsolete, marking a rebirth of a country alongside a new constitution and a new system of governance. Tomorrow, July 4, 2020, hundreds of thousands of Americans will celebrate the last Independence Day of their lives. They will not live to see the next one. They will die of COVID-19 before the same date in 2021. July 4th does not mark the formal separation of the United States from the United Kingdom. That happened later, in 1783, after the victory of the American Revolution over the British Empire. At its start, the American Revolution seemed to be a doomed endeavour. Nevertheless, on or about July 4, 1776, a revolutionary cadre issued the Declaration of Independence, stating that the 13 colonies would start writing their own laws, despite still being unsure of how to go about that. They would call themselves the United States of America, still a plural and not a singular noun. The Declaration is mostly a list of grievances against King George III, stating that he had trampled over their rights and ignored them. Some of the grievances are economic, involving taxation, and others are political, concerning representation. Yet, some of the most important outrages listed concern British soldiers murdering people with impunity, the same issue that animates American politics today and motivates activists to call for the abolition of policing as an institution. In the case of British soldiers, the Declaration of Independence plainly accuses King George III of protecting them, by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, and keeping large bodies of armed troops among us. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. American protesters facing down phalanxes of heavily armed, indeed militarized, federal, state and local police perhaps recognize a similar predicament. The fear of a mock trial for police accused of murder as a real one, with examples of police escaping prosecution because prosecutors are too close, professionally, to police departments. Indeed, the Declaration of Independence also demanded the abolition of police, specifically British troops who could kill Americans and get away with it. A black man in Boston, Crispus Attucks, was the first American martyr of the Boston Massacre in 1770 when British troops took aim at colonists who were demonstrating against new taxes. The killing of Attucks and 4 others solidified Bostonians' opposition to colonial rule. 2 soldiers who shot were found guilty of manslaughter. As with the American protesters of 2020, the revolutionaries of 1776 knew they were outmatched in a military sense against the British Empire.